The Story of Chancellor Tadasuke and His Nickname, Chapter 22. Once upon a time, there was a man named Fujiwara no Tadasuke, who held the position of Chūnagon, middle counselor. This man had a peculiar habit of always looking upward toward the sky, as if gazing into the heavens. Because of this, people started calling him Aogi Chūnagon, the sky-gazing chancellor. One day, when he was serving as the Uchuben, right middle controller, and a courtier, he happened to meet Saisho Sanetoki, the left commander of the guards, who had just returned from an audience at the imperial palace. Upon seeing Tadasuke in his usual posture of looking up at the sky, Sanetoki, teasing him, asked, "What is happening in the heavens at this moment?" Tadasuke, caught off guard by this playful question, responded after a moment's thought. "Right now, a star foretelling misfortune for the commander is appearing in the sky." Though Saisho Sanetoki felt somewhat embarrassed by this remark, as it was made in jest, he didn't get angry and merely laughed it off. However, not long after this exchange, Saisho Sanetoki passed away. Reflecting on this, Tadasuke began to wonder if his light-hearted comment might have somehow contributed to the commander's untimely death. Although it is said that people's fates are determined by the deeds of their past lives, one should still be careful not to make careless jokes. This is a story that serves as a reminder of the unexpected consequences of even seemingly harmless words. Despite Tadasuke's eventual rise to the rank of Chūnagon, the nickname Aogi Chūnagon stuck with him throughout his life, and people continued to laugh and refer to him by that name. This is how the story has been passed down through the ages. The Story of Sanjō Chūnagon and His Watered Rice, Chapter 23. Once upon a time, there was a man known as the Chūnagon of Sanjō, whose name was Asanari. He was the son of the Udaijin, right minister of Sanjō. Asanari was known for his intelligence and vast knowledge, well-versed in both Chinese and Japanese matters. He was a man of deep contemplation with a strong and commanding presence. He was also a master of the sho, a type of Japanese flute, and because of his virtues, his household was prosperous. He was tall and had become extremely fat, to the point that his excessive weight caused him great discomfort. His obesity had become such a burden that it made simple movements painful. Desperate to find relief, he called upon the physician Waki no Shigehide and asked, "What can be done about this obesity? Even daily activities like getting up and sitting down are unbearably painful due to my body's weight." Shigehide responded, "In winter, eat rice soaked in hot water, and in summer, eat rice soaked in cold water." Since it was around the 6th month, June, Chūnagon said to Shigehide, "Then stay for a moment. I'll show you how I eat rice soaked in cold water." Shigehide obediently stayed. The Chūnagon summoned a servant, and when the servant arrived, Chūnagon said, "Bring the rice I usually eat soaked in cold water." The servant left and returned shortly with a tray. On it were 2 pairs of chopsticks. Following him, another servant carried a large bowl. Upon looking inside, one could see that it contained about 10 pieces of dried gourd slices, each about 3 inches long. Another bowl contained around 30 large, pressed nare-zushi, fermented sushi, of ayu fish, arranged with heads and tails intact. A large metal bowl was also brought along. All of these were placed on the tray. One more servant came forward, carrying a large silver vessel with a heavy silver spoon placed inside, setting it down before the Chūnagon. Chūnagon then took the bowl and handed it to the servant, saying, "Serve the rice." The servant scooped the rice with the spoon, piling it high in the bowl, and then added a small amount of water to it. The Chūnagon pulled the tray closer and lifted the bowl in his hands. Despite his large hands, the bowl still looked enormous, a testament to how much food it contained. First, he ate 3 slices of the dried gourd. Then he moved on to the nare-zushi, cutting off 2 portions and calmly consuming 5 or 6 pieces. Finally, he turned to the watered rice and began eating it, taking just 2 rounds of chopstickfuls before the rice was all gone. He then ordered, "Serve me more," and extended the bowl again to the servant. At this point, Shigehide remarked, "Even if you only eat this watered rice at this rate, there's no way your weight will ever decrease." He then quickly excused himself, fleeing the scene, and later laughed about the situation when telling others. Thus, the Chūnagon continued to grow even fatter, eventually becoming as large as a sumo wrestler. Thus, the story has been passed down. The Story of the Fasting Saint and the Mocking of His Secret Rice, Chapter 24. Once upon a time, during the reign of Emperor Montoku, there was a saint living in a place called the Mountain of Hataki. This saint had abstained from eating grains for many years. Upon hearing of his devotion, the emperor summoned the saint to his court and had him reside at the Shinsen, the sacred spring garden, showing him great reverence and granting him the emperor's full trust and respect. Since the saint had long abstained from consuming grains, he was said to survive on nothing more than tree leaves. One day, a group of young and spirited courtiers, known for their playful and mischievous nature, gathered and said, "Come, let's go and see this saint, who claims to live without eating grains." They made their way to where the saint resided. Upon seeing him, the courtiers were struck by his noble and dignified presence. They paid their respects and asked, "Saint, how many years has it been since you started fasting from grains? And how old are you now?" The saint replied, "I have already lived for 70 years, and I have been abstaining from grains for over 50 of those years since I was young." Hearing this, one of the courtiers secretly whispered, "I wonder what the excrement of someone who hasn't eaten grains in so long looks like. Surely it must be different from that of ordinary people. Come, let's go and check it out." They conspired and with 2 or 3 others headed to the lavatory. When they looked, they found a great deal of undigested rice in the feces. Shocked, they said, "How can someone who claims to abstain from grains produce such waste?" Suspicious and full of doubt, they returned to where the saint was staying. However, the saint had briefly stepped away. The courtiers flipped over the mat where the saint had been seated and found a hole in the floorboards beneath. Upon closer inspection, they discovered a small amount of soil had been dug out below. Curious, they investigated further and found a cloth sack hidden in the ground filled with white rice. Seeing this, the courtiers said to themselves, "Ah, so that's how it is," and replaced the mat as they had found it. When the saint returned, the courtiers grinned and began to mock him, calling out, "The saint who eats rice! The saint who eats rice!" Laughing, they chanted this at him. The saint, deeply embarrassed, fled the scene and was never seen again. Later, it became known that the saint had secretly been storing rice, hoping to deceive people and be revered for his false fasting. Even Emperor Montoku had believed him and shown him great respect, thinking him a man of true piety. Thus, the story has been passed down. The story of Sakanoue no Akitane being laughed at, Fujiwara no Narinori, Chapter 25. Once upon a time, a man named Fujiwara no Narikuni, who served as a kurodo, chamberlain, while holding the rank of 5th rank. At that time, Minamoto no Sanesue, known as the Minister of the Right and also called Lord Miyasumido, was sitting at his command post, Jinnogoza, conducting official matters as the highest-ranking court official of the day. Narikuni, in his capacity as a 5th-rank court official, approached the Jinnogoza to receive a formal instruction in the form of a written petition. At that moment, Minamoto no Akitane, who was a denjobiro, a high-ranking courtier allowed access to the emperor's chambers, was at the southern building's eastern wing and loudly expelled gas. Since the minister of the right was seated in the inner room, he did not see what happened. However, Narikuni, who was standing at the southern part of the Jin no Goza, witnessed this and found it so hilarious that he could not hold back his laughter. The Jokei noticed Narikuni's laughter and, not knowing the reason, reproached him severely, saying, "Why are you laughing during the reading of an imperial decree?" Deeply offended by what he saw as disrespect, the minister immediately reported the incident to the emperor. Narikuni, now in a most uncomfortable situation, was overcome with fear and dread. However, despite the circumstances, Narikuni did not reveal the true cause of his laughter by saying it was because Minister Akitane passed gas. Akitane, on the other hand, thought the situation was extremely amusing. Thus, the story teaches, one must avoid inappropriate jokes and careless actions, especially at critical moments. And so, the tale has been passed down. The story of Awa-no-Kami Fumuro Kiyotada, losing his crown and being laughed at, Chapter 26. Once upon a time, there was a man named Fumuro no Kiyotada, who served as Awa-no-Kami, governor of Awa province. He had been appointed to this position after many years of service as a lower official. While still a Geki, Kiyotada was known for his arrogant demeanor and unapproachable attitude, often displaying an overconfident and unpleasant air, and frequently standing tall and imposing. At the same time, there was another official named Oe no Tokimune, who also served as a Geki. Unlike Kiyotada, Tokimune was known for his bent-over posture and foolish, timid appearance. One day, during a court appointment ceremony, both Kiyotada and Tokimune were summoned to the Jin-no-Goza to receive their appointment letters. As they stood side by side, Tokimune, while gesturing with his ceremonial baton, accidentally struck Kiyotada's crown, knocking it to the ground. Upon seeing this, the assembled courtiers burst into laughter, creating an uproar. Kiyotada, shocked and embarrassed, quickly picked up his fallen crown, but in his confusion, he placed it back on his head without properly securing it. Humiliated, he fled the scene without even receiving his appointment letter. Tokimune, on the other hand, stood there with a bewildered expression on his face, not knowing how to react to the situation. For a long time after, this incident remained a popular subject of amusement and gossip in the court. Both Kiyotada and Tokimune lived to old age, but the story of that day continued to be passed down as an example of how unpredictable and embarrassing moments can happen, even in the highest places of society. Thus, the story has been passed down.